Hey, so welcome to our podcast, Musician and a Filmmaker. Here we are today. We are joined by two lovely human beings, Zoie, aka Superflower, and Dave Portner, aka Avey Tare, best known from the band Animal Collective. Thank you guys so much. And there's a dog back there too. Who's that?
That's Frog.
Frog the dog?
Frog the dog.
Yeah. And here's Lady. This is Ladybug. She's just
Ladybug.
I used to have a
Aw.
dog named Lady.
really
Yeah,
Aw,
yellow lab, like 10 years ago or something like that.
sweet.
Yeah.
Do you have any animals, Dave?
I have two cats, one named
Nice.
Caramel and one named Nanook.
Awesome.
Nanook, great reference.
Very cool. There's a cat here too somewhere. Might show up at some point.
All right, well,
Let's
we're here
jump right into it.
let's jump into it. We're here to talk about the Fastly EP, which is the newest release from the two of our guests today, and also it's released by the new label Dosed, which I guess right off the bat, I'm curious what the deal is with Dosed. Is it an imprint of Domino? Is it all through Drop of Sun? How does that all work?
It's
It's
all
all-
through Drop of Sun.
Drop of You go ahead.
Well, I mean, Fastly EP is just my side of it.
Oh, right. And Amorpha.
Uh,
Sorry to the audience.
but Dosed, yeah, I don't want to be like the take the credit or anything kind of guy, but Dosed was actually the idea for Dosed was actually my idea, which I proposed to Adam McDaniel, who kind of manages it and kind of does all the work behind it. He's an engineer and owner of Drop of Sun, engineer at Drop of Sun, and I thought he just has such a interesting taste and style with the musicians that he works with. I thought it would be cool if he kind of just had sort of his own label. If there was a label that was kind of like, run through Drop of Sun, that would kind of showcase his work and the stuff that they do at Drop of Sun, which is really varied. And, it could be anything from like full bands to solo acts to, just and to just be able to showcase people, musicians around Asheville, because there's so much cool stuff happening.
Definitely. I mean, it gave way to this collaboration. I think once upon a time, Jordan, you actually got some music mixed through there, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I actually had an EP that I released that was mixed and mastered by Alex Farrar.
Nice.
Yep.
That's it.
Alex, yeah, another great engineer at Drop of Sun. Yeah.
So good. He's got the magic touch.
What's your EP called?
It's called The Man Behind the Smoke. Is that right? It's been a while. The
It's
Man
your
Behind the
EP.
Clouds,
I don't
that's it.
know.
I don't know. It's The Man Behind the Clouds. That's it. Yeah, yeah. It's been I did that. That was during like the pandemic. That was like 2020. So I live in Toronto, so I recorded it all here, and then he mixed it over at the studio. So it was all remotes. But yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience. I want to ask actually about like so Drop of Sun. When you're releasing, I guess this would be more specific to you, Dave. But like when you're releasing something on Dosed, what is like? Is there any concerns with your main label being Domino? Is it okay to like kind of hop?
Yeah, I
street?
mean, it's not really, it's just complicated because of contractual stuff, basically, and there aren't like personal concerns really, or sort of it doesn't really like get heated or anything like that. It's just hard for me. The reason it's not out digitally right now is because of my contract with Domino, so it just makes it hard to, it's hard to find ways of releasing stuff like that, through multiple outlets at the same time. I will like to make it digital eventually. There was a lot going on at the time of us kind of putting it together and figuring out the release and just like the complications of figuring that out it was just not worth my headspace at that time. So I plan to get to it later.
Put it on the back burner. That's
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
When you say eventually, is that like we have two albums coming out as Animal Collective eventually, or is that like a later in the year eventually? Not too much pressure on that, but just
Yeah,
curious.
no. I mean, it's hard to say. It could be as soon as later in the year, or it could be a little bit later. It always gets tough with Animal Collective and Animal Collective related stuff because there's a number of us doing stuff at the same time and wanting to release stuff, and just so we don't kind of trip over each other, or kind of like overshadow each other's releases or Animal Collective releases. It all just kind of us and Domino just like to space everything out, so it's not, so we don't really have like a cluttered release schedule. And I mean, sometimes we have the feeling that we would just like to, which is cool that there's something like Dosed, like that's kind of exists for me to put stuff out on, because I feel like I'm a very like process oriented person, and constantly writing stuff and constantly wanting to make different kinds of stuff. And I don't know, it's just hard to stay in sort of like the regiment format of releasing stuff with one label, which comes down to a lot of scheduling and advance notice for a lot of people. There's so many people involved in it, you know what I mean? It's hard to just be spontaneous sometimes. And I'm a musician that, thrives on spontaneity, often. And so, it kind of in certain ways goes against my creative instinct to even be on a label, you know what I mean? But also being on a label makes things easier, kind of like takes away a lot of the busy work and the stuff within the music industry that I don't really want to do, or even kind of like get my foot into sometimes, even though I'm, forced to by being on a label. So, it's kind of just, it's a matter of finding balance and the best of both worlds, of being able to like constantly be making something. But also my point being that, we're all kind of like that within Animal Collective, and, we're all kind of hoping to put stuff out, and put Animal Collective stuff out a lot. And yeah, it can be hard to organize. So I definitely am grateful to Domino, for Domino for doing that, that kind of thing.
Yeah, when I talked to Brian, he already said that he had like a whole album that he was still working on. Like he just like said he needs to get like the art for it and figure out all the label stuff, but it's already ready to go. So I'm sure that's a common occurrence with what you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. We thought we would clear the plate over 2020 into releasing the last two records that we put out, but the ideas just keep coming, and the old stuff keeps coming, and I don't know. It's hard to complain about it. It's not a bad thing to have
right. You're not creatively in a drought or anything. If anything, the opposite.
No. Mm-hmm.
Lots of water in the well. That's fantastic. So Zoie, you've done a split EP release before. Can you talk a bit about how, this split EP came about? Like, how did you meet up with Dave? Where did this all begin?
It's probably Sham Tour. I went on tour with the band Sham, Shamrock, not Shamrocks, Shamrocks, like the band rocks. And,
It's not like their other name that I never knew about. Name, Shamrock.
Really funny. I'm gonna say that to them. But they do rock, and I was lucky enough to do some backup vocals on them when they were lucky enough to be asked by Animal Collective to go on tour in, I think that was summer of 2022.
22.
Yeah.
20.
Yes.
And then I think it was at a show that Sham was opening for Dave. I met Adam. Dave, I think you introduced me to Adam, and Adam was super friendly and was like, just send me your music. And I did, and he was like, would you want to come, just see what it would be like in the studio? And we had so much fun recording, and we didn't know it was going to eventually turn into a split with Dave, but it was his idea to make it a split, and we just kept adding songs. We also didn't know that would happen, but I'd be like, check out this song, this demo, and he'd be like, come in the studio. And that was so fun. And then I guess it worked out that we got to do the split with Dave.
That's awesome. And it's interesting that it kind of feels like it was this thing that was birthed like out of, again, like kind of spontaneity, when there is so much kind of like symmetry to the two EPs. Because I was listening to it and I was thinking like they mirror each other so perfectly. Like there's 4 tracks on each side. the title track is track two on both sides, and like even the song lengths. You're starting with the first one
Mm.
being like a little over a minute, second one being like a little over 3 minutes, back to a short one again, then kind of like longest one for the end. Was that at all intentional?
Well, we were not intentional necessarily, but we were making them at the same time, basically, and kind of I feel like probably hearing little bits and pieces and getting ideas of what the other was doing. At least this is my perspective of it. And so, you know, hearing mine or seeing how long Zoe's was, I'd be like, oh, I feel like I need a little bit more. I feel like I needed. I felt like it should just be balanced. That was my kind of only feeling about the whole thing overall. In terms of just length and I don't know. I think very short EPs are a really really cool thing because I don't know you see how much you can really get in. I feel like at least in terms of Zoe's songs and listening to them and being something I'm not really a part of. It's cool that they're relatively short songs, but it feels like a lot happens within them, and they're like they're engineered and mixed and composed in a cool way. And I think that's the cool thing about when all that stuff adds up to a short EP. I think it's really cool when something feels like it's very substantial, but it's only 11 minutes long. You know what I mean? Because I feel like so much today is just like excess. You know what I mean? So many albums that are released are over an hour long. You know what I mean? And it's just
Mhm.
labels are always like content, content, content. You need more, and you almost like feel like you even need more than you planned on being on the record. Sometimes these days, it's like never enough. So I don't know. Yeah, it's nice to just be able to have the freedom to do very short, concise stuff too.
Well, it's definitely in like the Animal Collective, you know, collective like sphere of music that like sometimes your EPs are almost like LP length, like
Hmm.
Meeting of the Waters is like over 30 minutes. Bridge to Quiet, I kind of did consider it an LP at first because I was like, well, it's 40
Yeah,
minutes. It's not that much different than Campfire songs. So, I mean,
yeah,
um,
yeah. And I think those times have changed technically over time because I know we used to sort of when we were around like the end of the aughts or like Merryweather, and we started doing or Strawberry Jam, and we started doing more of the EPs thing. I feel like it became a contention, like how long exactly is an EP length or an LP length? I feel like we talked about it a lot back then because it was different, say in the '60s than it is now. I feel like technically, but it's almost like it doesn't even matter anymore, right? Because like everything's digital and everything's streaming. So I don't know, tracks can be 22 minutes long, or
take up
one
the
track.
entire side of your
Yeah,
vinyl. Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty fascinating actually. And it kind of segues nicely into like format because this is released on cassette. I mean, I can see a lot of sort of obvious reasons why Dosed releases would be on cassette. It's I guess a little bit more of a budget friendly way to release stuff, a little bit of a quicker output as well, I suppose. Um, how do you like? Is this for you, Zoe? Is this like your first physical media release?
All of my releases have been on tapes, on
They've all
cassette.
been on cassettes.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
And is
just
that
like,
like, yeah, is that a conscious decision to do
yeah, I
that
mean,
way?
not really. I mean, I think I've burned a couple CDs. It's just what's affordable. And I have a lot of friends with small labels. My friend Alex Homan put out my very first, well, not my first actually, but he kind of combined all my music onto one tape for me and was as a gift. And I think it's just something that like the homies are doing for each other. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's cool. It does feel a lot more like communal kind of,
Yeah.
taping stuff and trading
Yeah.
around the tapes. They're almost like
Hmm.
playing cards. You can just like hand them to somebody.
Yeah. They're
You mean
so
like
cute. They're so cute and small.
Yeah.
And
They
yeah.
are.
Oh,
And I think
sick. Yeah. You got
I
the
think in the
buckle.
digital world too, it's like there is this, I don't know. I mean, I'm like a vinyl collector, right? And I've collected CDs, and everything. I like the physical format a lot, but there is something to be said when you like move houses or something, and then you got to carry like crates of vinyls with you, and that becomes a pain. But
Yeah,
a
for
cassette
sure.
is so much more manageable, and so it's like I find a lot of the time, like it happens a lot of like punk shows and stuff too, where it's like they'll sell a cassette and it's like you do want a memento. Like maybe you're just going to listen to it digitally anyway, but you do want that physical memento. And it's like, okay, well, this is a nice like space saving memento as well. So But there is an audio quality to it too that I think is kind of like non-replicable on digital.
Yeah, I love the quality of tapes. I love the
Yeah,
sound.
tape, you can't beat it, or you can't replace it, it's just
Hmm. So no vinyl release for Amphora or Fastly cassette.
not right now. I
Oh,
mean, vinyl is just, I feel like vinyl is just the most complicated and troublesome format right now, just because again, like, to back to the timing thing, it's like you have to prep everything so far in advance now, and there's sort of like a 4 month wait till your stuff even can get to the pressing plant or whatever. So it just, yeah, in some ways, just in terms of, we wanted to put this out as quick as possible when we were ready to put it out. And yeah,
mhm.
trying to get it pressed on vinyl would have just meant waiting another 4 or 5 months to be able to do it and have the records. And so yeah, it's like, vinyl's awesome. I still collect it. I still buy new stuff on vinyl, but in terms of like, yeah, getting your own music pressed on vinyl, it can be a hassle these days. I feel like, because everybody's starting to get back into it.
Mhm.
So when were these songs done? Like when were they written? Like fairly recently, if that was like the plan to release it kind of super quick.
Yeah, they were. Some of mine were sort of. I mean, I feel like Adam, like, I'd say 80% of the time I spend with Adam just hanging out is spent in the studio. He's pretty much at the studio all the time. That's where he likes hanging out. That's like one of his favorite places to be. Um, so a lot of this came out of just like him and I hanging out, at least my side, and just being like, hey, what do you want to do? Let's hang out at the studio. Oh, I've got this idea, like something like costume jewelry, my last track on the EP. Yeah, it was just, that was like a late night hang session, a couple late night hang sessions. I was just like, oh, I was practicing for my touring, and I stumbled upon this chord progression and a vocal melody, and I was like, oh, let's just see what comes out of me. I think I even used the demo of the guitar I had, because we couldn't really like recreate it in the studio the way we wanted it. So it was just sort of that, a lot of the songs for me on this were just like little experiments. Again, just like wanting to hang in the studio and just be like, let's try that. And, I feel like the Sham crew, which we talked about before, just like really great musicians too. And Zoe's partner is one of them, Mikey, and it's just like suddenly, there are all these kind of great musicians coming up or moving into Asheville, and it's just a cool way to get people together and hanging out, music, and just experimenting, and that's kind of what the foundation of, at least, yeah, this was for me, and Dosed in a way. It's just, Adam will often be like, who can, like, oh, let's get this person and this person together, or let's do it, and just like, people you wouldn't maybe imagine playing music together, or, people that would be like a perfect fit together. It's really varied. So yeah, it's just about
Awesome.
experimenting and having fun.
So Zoie, I'm curious, were you a fan of Animal Collective and all of them before the tour and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a
So
huge fan.
so what was your first experience? Like what was the first song or album you heard from them?
Um, Probably I was like 13 or 14, and I was just looking through iTunes, and it was like, I don't know, probably like a local. I grew up the same area Dave grew up in. We went to the same school, and it recommended Did You See the Words? And I was like, this is amazing. And it took years, and like I kind of grew up with Animal Collective, and as I got older and my mind was like opening more to experimental music. So, by the time I was like 17 or 18, I was really into like Dance Manatee and whatnot. And then as I got even older than that, I listened to all of them throughout my college years, all of their uh, solo projects and the new albums like Painting With and stuff. It's just like I've been following them as I've grown up. Yeah.
Well, I can also speak from experience that college is the perfect time to get into all things Animal Collective. I think I
Yeah.
discovered Merriweather like halfway through my freshman year, and the whole
Oh,
game has
yeah.
changed from there. And Painting With was actually my first tour
Oh,
that I got
wow.
to see them on. So
Oh,
we can all relate, maybe not Dave, but we can all relate, I think, to the joy
Dave,
that comes from discovering something like that.
Are you a fan of Animal Collective, Dave? If you are, that makes all of us Animal Collective.
Sometimes.
Sweet. So should we get into what we do on the show a lot is like we'll pick like albums that we like or releases that we like, and we'll kind of just like go through it song by song. So since this is like a split EP, we'll kind of go like track one, track two.
Cool.
Let's start with Zoe's side here. Let's start with the Superflower side. So track one, it's kind of like an opener, but like you said, Dave, like there is some time warping that happens in there. It's a short song, but it feels so much longer than just like a minute and a half. Can you give us some backstory for
Bird Prayer? Is that
Bird
the
Prayer?
first?
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one.
Yeah, let's see. I think I wrote that song. I remember getting a demo of it down when we were on tour with Sham in the summer of 2022 in Animal Collective. And I'm still hoping to write more songs like that. It's just I wanted to make something that was very folky, where I could do a lot of vocal runs and also have like a fun guitar run. And it ended up very short and repetitive, like a lot of my songs do. So yeah, it just kind of it took a while to write, but it's a really short song. So it was fun.
It's awesome. I think it's a really good taste of like your abilities. I think, as a songwriter and really as a singer, because your voice is phenomenal. Like you have crazy control over it, like
Thanks.
the range is I don't know, otherworldly,
That's so nice. Thank you.
It's a really, really, really awesome song. I love it.
On that note, I want to say that I enjoyed how like your first few EPs and the album you put out in the pandemic almost seemed to be sort of carried exclusively by the voice, and the instrumentation was like minimal. But it seems like on this EP, you sort of flipped that, or not so much that, but it seems like the instrumentation plays a much bigger role in the overall like production and arrangement. Was that like because you had access to Drop of Sun that you were trying to do that more consciously?
Yeah, definitely. I like kind of I'm self-taught. I just my only full-length album, Somewhere That's Kind, is my first go at writing songs, really. Like so I learned how to play guitar a little better, hopefully, since like my first releases. But yeah, all I had, like I have the ideas, but all I can use to the max degree right now is my voice. But having access to the studio really changed that. And Adam's like a really excellent producer. So even if I was like playing drums or something out of time, like he can fix that. And he really like helped me make a fully instrumentational part of it as well.
Yes, quantizing is a godsend. And for the audience that doesn't know, we should point out that Adam we're referring to is Adam McDaniel, who works at Drop of Sun. We just been saying Adam the whole time. It could have been anyone. Adam Lambert. I mean, just credit where it's due is all I'm saying.
We're talking about Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler, famous music producer Adam Sandler.
Great producer.
Very much into experimental singer-songwriter stuff.
Fashion icon and producer.
He does it all.
Yeah.
I saw Uncut Gems. I'm seeing it on Wednesday. Okay, so let's move on to the first track of Dave's side, which is Late Introduction. I don't know, what do you have to say about that one, Dave? It's not the thickest cookie in the bunch, but it's still a nice little treat.
Well, Late Introduction, referring to the fact that I kind of wrote it after the fact, and it was actually the last thing I wrote for the EP because I felt like it needed something to start it off. Up until that point, we just had we were focusing a lot on Fastly, and I just didn't feel good about everything starting off with Fastly just coming out of nothing like that. So wanted to write something to start it off. So yeah, just did a little spacey piano thing, I guess.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like a transitionary thing from like Eucalyptus. So
Mm-hmm.
I always
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the atmospheric. Is the piano like? Do you alternate between your primary thing? Do you like from day to day, just like jamming? Do you spend more on like the guitar or the piano?
It kind of depends on like not the mood, but I mean definitely the mood, but like more of like the zone I'm in, or like the world of records I'm in. Like I've for the past 2 years, or especially since last year, I've been kind of in the touring sevens mode, which has been a lot of guitar for me. So I've just been really comfortable playing a lot of electric guitar. Sometimes I have a piano in my practice space, so yeah, I do a lot of writing on the piano. But yeah, I mean, it's usually like just after a while, I'll just get bored with a certain instrument and feel like I'm not kind of hitting a new spot or a new place or inspired by it. So often that'll make me just switch to an instrument that I don't know very well, that I'm not comfortable with, which is kind of why I was playing bass um, for a while with Animal Collective and writing songs that way. Because I just felt like I needed a break from electric guitar and piano. But then I kind of just once I started working on the live sets for sevens and the sevens touring last year, I just started playing a lot more electric guitar. So I have been doing a lot more on electric guitar lately. But yeah, there's a couple sweet pianos and piano like sonically has always been one of my favorite instruments. Um, and I, really like something like Spirit. I really wanted like Spirit They're Gone. I really wanted the piano to shine on that record because I grew up playing it and have always loved it. And prepared piano is a really cool thing, just kind of messing around with the sound and chromatic percussion and just getting the two to kind of intermingle. And you can use the piano um, in a really rhythmic way. I like it when it's very percussive and it can be used percussively. And I feel like segueing into Fastly, like it's was I already used the piano in a very percussive way on that song. So I think just having late introduction be on the piano as well, which is kind of an easy way to kind of have a kind of more broken apart piano, like prepared piano, kind of segue into something that was a little bit more together and rhythmic, I guess, piano wise.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the title tracks. So Amphora, Amphora is like a Greek like vase of some
Yeah,
sort. That's like what's on the cover of the cassette?
yeah, it's on my body too.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Awesome. So okay, the significance of the amphora to you and how it relates to the song, I guess.
Well, it's my favorite shape. I was in it's this kind of like far-fetched, but I was a nanny for like 10 years, and the shape is like it resembles a mother, or like to me it resembles a mother, and I just like love and respect mothers and like feel a special kinship to um the shape, and part of the lyrics are like notice how it holds itself so well, and just the idea that this like shape not only can it replicates a body but also is known for like holding things. It's that's why it's my favorite shape. So I think I had written the melody first, and then the words just came next, and I just started singing about the shape. And the cover art is a sculpture I made in college. It's a ceramic sculpture of an amphora, but it can't hold anything because it's got a bunch of cutouts in it. And then I use that as like the motif for the rest of the art. And yeah, I'm really grateful I was able to do that motif, because it's been just like an important shape to me. I guess shapes are important.
Shapes are important for sure.
Yeah.
The song itself is a very interesting shape. It's a bit of a journey. Like it's kind of grand in parts, and then it really dials back, and it goes into like a almost like a reverse sort of like soundscape thing for a bit. How do you go about writing songs that have reverse sections in them? I mean, you can't just play that and then
No,
like you
no,
have to
yeah,
do that
that part.
afterwards.
Yeah, that part was written in the studio with Adam. When I play it live, and I have been playing it and performing it live before we recorded it for a while, but it just kind of goes into a jam during that section, or something like more abstract. I usually have some affected vocals and whatnot going on. But in the studio, I just had a bunch of sounds and samples that I had saved up and was like, what if we just, did something? And Adam brought his brain into it in a big way and started messing around with like modular synth sounds and taking my voice and affecting it through the modular synths, and it was really cool. So we just created it like that. Mm-hmm.
It sounds amazing, super cool, and I love also just the kind of short and sweet ending with the acoustic guitars and stuff. And you said you're self-taught. I mean, honestly, like the acoustic guitar playing that you have on this EP and some of your other work it's really awesome. I think it's weird. Like I hear some musicians say that being self-taught is kind of like the key to coming up with kind of unique stuff, because it's like you don't really have anything like it's all just coming from yourself. It's like a blank canvas or whatever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree that it helps with the creative flow. I'm like trained as a painter and a visual artist, and sometimes I wish I didn't go to school at all for that because I feel like it would just be flowing. I mean, I'm really grateful for my education, but I think that like it's technical skill is super important, but it's definitely not everything. So
yeah, I
sure.
feel like sometimes when I don't practice for a while or think about music theory at all, and then I come back to it and just start jamming, I'll come up with something that sounds cool, and then I'm like, that's great. What chord even is that? Oh, C sharp minor ninth. Okay, great. So I can write it down and transfer it to the DAW. Was like every song on the EP done like just through the digital workstation? Because I know that like on the most recent Ammo Collective, you were like insistent about recording everything analog and on tape and all that. Was there any of that involved in this, or was it all just digital?
Yeah, it was digital for me.
Yeah, I think it was mostly, yeah, it was all digital. I think maybe some effects boxes that we used were analog.
Yeah, that's probably true. I put my voice through guitar pedals. Is that digital or analog?
Depends on the pedal, I guess.
Depends on the pedal, yeah.
Like a DD3.
Sick. Dave, are you self-taught?
I'm self-taught guitar. I took classical piano for quite a long time, in my youth, like 3.5 till 17, 18 years old.
That's cool.
But yeah, like you're saying, I feel like when I moved to New York and just started playing, I mean, I guess I was playing with the other Animal Collective guys in high school too, and we just played a lot, and I think after a while, you do so much stuff like technical stuff and stuff, yeah, based on everything that that it just starts to feel kind of like you hit a wall, or like we hit a wall, like what's next, you know what I mean? Like, so it kind of took just kind of forgetting a lot of stuff that I was taught to, just sort of break out of that and find something that was just something new. Or I think it's just like finding your voice, you know what I mean? Your true self, and letting yourself, express. And that's where the unknown kind of sound comes from to me. Like, yeah, it's just like the ability to like let yourself come out somehow into the unknown, like to like lose that fear, something that can, I don't know, that can be there, I guess. But yeah, most of the stuff that I play, I'm just kind of self-taught on. I just pick up, and I mean, in terms of like writing melodies just come to me in my head like all the time. I write more melodies just in my head than I do on any instrument. So then for me, it's just kind of like at this point, like what instrument do I play that? Well, the melody is usually a vocal melody, but it's kind of like what, because the voice, I guess, aside from piano, I've always felt it's kind of like my strongest instrument, and it's something that's a part of you, and I feel like the easiest way to be able to express my true self was through my voice, and still is, I feel. So yeah, a lot of the songs that I write originally are vocal melodies first, and then it just becomes like, well, what would this be good on? What texture kind of do I want underneath it?
All right.
Makes
Well, on
sense.
that note, let's move on to the title track Fastly, I just want to point out real quick, are you aware that like the way that you like you use like homophone titles, is that like it's like an Avey Tare ism at this point, like like the word Fastly, Fastly, becomes fast space Lee, Lea. Is that like, do you is it just like you come up with the word and then you find out a way to sort of Avey tear it apart, if you
I
will?
feel like there are different. I feel like there are different reasons for that. I feel like when I'm writing a song, when I'm writing a melody, and I've heard other songwriters express this too or say this, I feel like there are certain words that just fit in naturally, like with the melody when they come into my head, or I might, and sometimes it could be completely nonsensical, you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm okay with that. Sometimes I'm not okay with that. I know, I've seen critiques of stuff I've written that's been like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And sometimes that has a lot to do with the fact that, well, just like the sound of the words become more important to me. Like I'll just become attached with something so much that I'm like, I can't change it now. It just has to be that, And I think with Fastly, that was kind of the case because I think technically Fastly isn't even a word really. You can just say fast. You don't need to say Fastly. You're
Faster.
running fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but I also kind of think language is kind of silly in a way at this point, and people that adhere to like strict dictionary kind of language rules, it's a little just funny to me, I guess, in some ways. Like it because language in itself can be so confusing and so nonsensical. I feel like some people just take it a little too seriously, which again is fine. I'm not trying to get down on anybody. I like to have a little bit more fun with it sometimes. So it's okay to kind of like play around with it in the context of music to me. And it was easy emotionally for me to like turn something like Fastly into like I'm talking to a person, like we're moving fastly, we're moving fastly, and it kind of like enhances the emotion of it for me. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the like orchestral arrangement stuff, is that like something where you come up with the idea in the studio, or is it birthed from like listening to the demo over and over again and thinking like, okay, what can I add? And then from there, do you sketch it out with like MIDI and then get a live artist to recreate that, or do you have them come in and sort of just go for it and feel it out?
I kind of all different ways. It depends on how much of the song comes to me in my head, as I'm writing it, and how many ideas I'll go into the studio with. For for this EP, Fastly was the one song that I feel like I had the most ideas about going into it. I wrote it on the piano first, just very simple chord changes. So I knew going into the studio I wanted to start with piano. I'm a big Steve Reich fan and minimalist music, and it was kind of inspired by that kind of song in certain ways, like music for 18 musicians. When I was younger, I used to love that piece of music, and so a little bit is influenced by that kind of like phasing idea of the piano coming in and out of phase and rhythms phasing and rhythmic syncopation. So just like going into the studio with that idea in mind, it just became, well, what instruments will fit that good, and we tried a few different ways of doing it. We kind of stuck with piano. We tried vibes a little bit, and I don't know, it was just hard to find the balance with all like animal collected stuff. It's always hard to find the balance between clutter and something you can easily digest, or something that that is a clear picture of something. So it took a minute to get the mix to where we wanted. And I'm also a fan of Moondog as a composer, and the second Moondog album, which is I think it's the second. I kind of like don't know the proper title of it, but it's like the Rounds one. To me, it was always like Moondog Rounds or something like that. But I know there is a proper title of the record. I have the LP. Uh, and So that's kind of where Zoie came in. I feel like I wanted that round kind of feeling too with the singing, where it could be I don't know, it's sort of structurally it's not my typical kind of song, whereas I'll usually write something that's a little bit more like stream of consciousness, or like feels like it just starts in one place and just keeps going and changing. Fastly is like very separated, and there's um, little loopy parts that keep changing, and so it's different. I wanted to be, because of that, I wanted it to be kind of trancy and roundy and loopy and kind of like a folk, like some sort of like folk ballad, or like it's kind of like a lot about change and like seasonal change and just changes in life. I feel like the past couple of years, there's just been a lot of change in the music industry and change in my life and change in Animal Collective. So it's just, made me look at the overall kind of um, patterns of change a little bit more. I mean, it's something I'm always looking into, but I feel like Fastly is just about that, these different changes and trying things and growing things, like gardening. There's a lot of like references to gardening and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Sweet.
So Zoe, your vocal parts on that song, like, was that? Did you kind of come up with that, or Dave? Did you kind of give like guidance for how that was supposed to sound?
Oh yeah, sorry, I got kind of sidetracked about that instrumentation thing too. Yeah, it's that's a perfect example where it's kind of like I had ideas in mind, but sometimes those you don't really know how those ideas or those melodies or those harmonies are going to sound until you actually hear them recording. Like sometimes they sound very different, or something that can be very cool, or maybe not so cool sounds the opposite in my head. You know what I mean? So I feel like when I'm working with other people, or even when I'm working with Animal Collective, it's kind of like I'll often be like, here's the ideas that I had. I think I made a lot of voice memos of the harmonies I wanted Zoe to sing when she came into the studio, but sometimes they're not you know, all there. It's not going to work depending on what I'm singing. It just doesn't work, or sometimes maybe Zoe's voice wouldn't fit with a certain harmony I'd want. We just kind of have to work it out in the studio. So there was a little bit of like, yeah, let's work on it. Let's work it out a little in the studio, or like this should be like, this is how this should be here. There's a little bit of both, and I feel like that's kind of how I often work. It's like I don't Mikey Powers, who recorded all the strings on the track. It was the same kind of thing with him. There were certain parts I knew in my head that I wanted, like certain lines and melodies. But he's the kind of musician and player. I just have faith, in his ability to be able to come up with cool stuff. And when I just maybe like give him a little idea of like, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Like, let's try a few different things, and then it was a matter of just like collecting a bunch of different stuff and like sorting through it.
Nice. You mentioned earlier that like for your music you like to sort of step outside of your comfort zone sometimes and play an
Mhm.
instrument that you haven't traditionally used. Have you ever like tried playing any of those like string instruments like violins or cellos or anything like that?
No, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Those are like seem like the hardest instruments
You could
to
just
me to
bow a
play.
guitar.
Yeah, I've bowed a guitar before.
Oh, okay.
Have you done that in any recorded stuff that you've released, the bowing the guitar?
Um, Maybe older stuff, but I don't think anything recorded. Some jams probably that are recorded improvisations, but nothing on a record, like nothing on a studio record. I don't think. I could be wrong. I don't know. There's a lot of
You have,
stuff going on
yeah, you have so
sometimes.
much stuff. Yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
hard to remember. Sweet. Okay. Well, I mean, that song is really awesome. Fastly, I can see why it's the title track, and I like that you played it live on the tour that you
A little bit
recently
more of a
did.
dancey version,
Yeah,
beady
it's a
beady dancey version.
little different. I think it's something that fans of yours have come to expect that, when they hear a song live, it's going to be a little different than the recorded version, which honestly I think is like it's awesome. Why would you want to hear the same thing that's on the record, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that's music. Like music is that way to me. It's all a process, and it's never really solidified. It's all always changing. I mean, it is on a record.
mhm.
Certain versions, but to me, in terms of my relationship to stuff I write, I feel like it's always kind of changing and has to change with me. As I change, and so it's just always a process. Music making.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about the third track on the Amphora uh, side. That is
Did I say Amorpha earlier? I'm sorry. I was reading it too quickly. Sorry, I
Like
cut you
too
off there,
Animorphs?
Jordan.
fastly.
Animorphs would be funny.
Animorphs.
Animorphs.
Yeah,
That
guys.
should be the next
I,
cover art. Is just going from like
turning
whatever
into
your favorite animal is into human.
It's Animorphs, but I'm turning into Dave.
There you go.
Nice. That's
Trademark
that would actually be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love those books. Animal books.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about like rereading them.
You
I
should.
wonder if they'll hold
I'm
up.
waiting for the Hollywood adaptation, the Disney Plus adaptation.
Oh, yes.
The dark.
I don't know if it
gritty version.
exists. I'm just assuming it will within 5 years' time.
Probably.
Anyway,
Oh,
Jordan.
Anyway, yes. Okay, so who names it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this song. This is a beautiful song as well. Short and sweet. Got lots going on, but still very cohesive. Yeah. Let's hear your thoughts on your own song.
Yes, I wrote it pretty quickly. I wrote it right before I went to play a music festival called Big Noise Candy Mountain. And sometimes I just like to try to write something for a show because I get tired of playing the same songs. I definitely bombed it at the show, but that's okay. It was like a really fun show. And it's, again, like I started with a guitar melody or vocal melody and then kind of filled in the words, and similar to like the other songs I write, it tends to be about daily life. And that's how it came to be. Oh, and I sent a demo of it to Adam and left for the festival, and he was like, "Can you come to the studio?" And I was like, "No, but I can later." And I left the festival, and the next morning went to the studio, and that's how it went. And it was really fun.
That's awesome. And that's technically the single, right? Because you did release that as like a single.
I did, but it didn't release like before the EP. It actually released after, but I'm
Right.
glad it's there as a single. Yeah.
That's the one with the that one has it has like wet dog imagery in it. Is that
Yeah.
one? Is that one of your dogs? Is that one
Yeah,
of your
probably. Yeah, Frog in the rain. Just every day I just play with him outside. So it's just what's in my brain, like my dog in the rain. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Dave's no stranger to songs about dogs.
Oh God,
So
yeah. I can't talk about Doggy. That song.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of your songs about dogs, Dave, are like tearjerkers.
Oh man,
can we get a
yeah,
happy
no.
dog song on the next
Oh
Animal
yeah, I
Collective
don't.
album? Is
Yeah,
that too much? On
that's
eights? Can we get a dog
that's a
song on eights?
Oh
that's a
man.
good point. I haven't even owned a dog or had a dog for a long time. So
The dogs
it's
love
funny.
Dave. My dogs love Dave.
Yeah, I get it. My sister's got a dog, and so I get my dog energy whenever I hang out with her. My parents have a dog as well, so. But yeah, I haven't had one. But yeah, I don't know why that is. I've written some sad dog songs. I'll have to write a happy one.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an easy way to get to that emotional space, you know?
Yeah.
It's because I always really liked Droopy Dog for some reason. And I think, the sad dog just kind of appeals to me. I don't know why.
Droopy Dog miniseries coming to Disney Plus next year. All right.
Yes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of sad, I feel like track 3 on your side, Dave, it's kind of got like a sad vibe to it. The spontaneous rainy daydream. It's beautiful, but it's kind of like it's a little more melancholy.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that just my interpretation,
I
or
really
is
like. I really like melancholic piano for rainy days. You know, that song's just based on just me improvising. I have a little looper that I use a lot on stage or just in my studio, and I kind of looped a piano part and then just started improvising over the loop, and recorded that on my phone, and then had that in the studio, and we put that onto computer and just wanted to add some stuff over it. But yeah, it definitely has. I guess I like a lot of like mellow kind of spacious piano jazz. That kind of hints at that kind of vibe. And my friend Shane, who's kind of the brains behind Sham, the band, Shane McCord, the Sham, the band that we've been talking about, has been playing clarinet, and I wanted to have those textures on it, so I kind of invited him in. Actually, I wasn't even there when he recorded the tracks. Adam it was one of those things where Adam was like, "Come over and record on on some of these." So yeah, Shane just happened to be over there. I think Shane was recording on something else that was happening at Drop of Sun, and so yeah, Adam just got him to do the tracks. But yeah, we just kind of found a way to mix them in and get it to build into a little bit more noisy kind of. The band I really liked from the '90s, Thinking Fellers, Union Local 282, always had these moments in their records that they called Feller Fillers, and they were like these little like noisy interludes, that were sometimes hinted at a song or a structure, and sometimes were just little odd little things of people talking or slow down voices or that kind of thing. So I think it's a little bit influenced by that kind of feller filler kind of vibe.
I love it. I think it's so good. I was listening to it like on a rainy day in here in like downtown Toronto, just watching a bunch of like people just kind of going to work, like just covered in rain. And I was like, this is perfect. So sad. But it's beautiful at the same time. Um, it kind of it's interesting because I know like Josh like Deacon has been doing a lot of piano work too, and it kind of felt almost in the same same vein as kind of like that stuff he's been posting on his Instagram
Mm-hmm.
posts. So it's all very 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 bittersweet.
I was also going to say there's a little bit of a resemblance to some of the tracks on the Mr. Raindrops Holistic Pharmacy or Supermarket. Did we ever actually figure out which one it's supposed to be on that EP? Like the Bus Tear My Face Off or New York Bus.
Right.
Long titles.
Yeah, and that was all old stuff. The piano on that's Noah playing piano on that one, and that was a song that Noah always Noah used to come over my house and play that song on piano. He'd just sit down, and take a break from hanging out with all of us and start playing piano, and that was the song he used to play all the time. And I'd be like, oh, or when we were recording Spirit, I was like, oh, let's record that song. I like it. So, and it just sat on a tape I totally forgot I even had it recorded till I started going through those tapes and looking for if I had any old kind of B-sides from that stuff. And yeah, thought it sounded cool. So or Josh mixed a lot of that stuff together.
Well, it was crazy because when that was coming out, and I think that EP, like we heard it for the first time digitally, we were just like, wait, why does this sound familiar? And then it just so happened we went back to Noah did some short films in college with a buddy of his, and like a number of songs from his first self-titled Panda Bear album are in one of the short films. And then that song comes up. And so when I was playing that back, I'm like, wait a second, I just heard this earlier today, but not in this. And then, so, I mean, that kind of stuff is always mind-blowing as a fan. And then, of course, Jordan and I are fans of that first album. That's why we named our podcast A Musician and a Filmmaker, because that's both in the short film and on the album. So that was why we were, our first episode was actually reviewing that, was our first album. And that is the outro music to our podcast. So it always comes full circle. And please just tell Noah that we really like the album, even if he doesn't. And we would love to have it on like streaming or just have more provenance. Cause I mean, I can relate as a musician, like going back and listening to like the very first stuff I ever made, just like screwing around in a DAW. You do kind of cringe at it. You're just like, oh, well, I didn't know what I was doing when I did that, but I can kind of see what I was going for. So I think it's just every artist sort of evolves over time. And I can understand wanting, now that you've got, a million listeners on Spotify or whatever, to maybe not broadcast that and share all the skeletons in your closet musically.
Yeah, it's it's hard to know what to do about that. I feel also equally precious about my old 4-track recordings and stuff that I never even wanted to put out, and we have an our first band, high school band, that's like Brian and I and a couple of our friends. We have a 7-inch that's out there a little bit, and there are other copies that exist, but it's just sort of like I don't know. Do we want that stuff getting out there? Yeah, I don't know why I feel so precious about people hearing that stuff. Yeah, and be so protective over it. But yeah, well, maybe some of the Noah especially just doesn't like giving time these days to a lot of older stuff. You know what I mean? He'd rather just keep moving forward and focus on that. So I think that probably has a lot to do with it. Just not wanting to like put energy into that kind of thing. But I don't know. We're all kind of different about it, but yeah, I'm definitely equally as like cautious about putting out the old stuff that we never really intended to be released. So I don't know.
Well, you just got to know that the fans will always go crazy, no matter how tiny or insignificant you feel like it is. Like when you guys, speaking of Paddington Band, that EP,
Oh,
the
right.
Automine,
That
when
was
you
fun.
put out the Penny Dreadfuls demo, we were just like, "There's a hardcore version of this." Anyway, we can go on and on about how
Yeah.
big fans we are, but
Speaking of going forward, let's go into I feel like this is, even though they're split EPs, I feel like this almost is a centerpiece song. Predator,
Predator.
Predator.
Rated.
Um, it is such a beautiful collaboration between the two of you. Like, it is a pure collab. I feel like I mean, probably maybe instrumentally, not so much, but vocally, like a
No,
pure
no,
collab.
Dave did
Instrumentally as
instrumental.
well?
Yeah, Dave did
Okay,
I I did
clapping.
some percussion. Yeah, yeah.
nice. Hey, the claps are like what hold it all together.
Going
Yeah,
back to Dance
Um,
that
Manity.
was fun. Yeah,
yeah,
Clapping.
yeah. Let's talk about it. So, how did this song start? How did you conceptualize it? You know?
I was like, uh, we had we had decided to do the split together, and I actually didn't hear any of Dave's song until I was on any of Dave's songs until I was on a drive with Mikey, and we got to listen to Dave's side together, and I was like, damn, I really want to write another song for this to balance it out, I guess, or to like bring more of a chill vibe to my side, because my side's like it's really like visceral. So I I just wanted to do that. And Adam was like, okay, like show me what you got. So I actually took a sample from a record Dave gave me for my birthday. Dave, do you remember which record? I can't remember what it's called right now.
I remember it was a kalimba focused record.
That's right, Kalimba record. And took a sample from that and then wrote a song based off of it, which was really cool because it was in a key, I think it's A, and a time 6 6 8 that I'm not used to writing and singing in. So it gave me something different. And then I wrote it, made a little demo, showed it to Adam. He was like, let's go. And we recorded most of it. And then I was like, I think it needs another part. And that's the part that's like, I'm the predator, I'm the prey. And I knew I wanted Dave to sing on it, but I specifically knew that part would be sick with Dave's voice. So yeah, and
And it
Dave
is.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's how it happened.
Did you have a
Amazing.
different approach, Dave, for how you did your vocals for that? Because I feel like if it didn't say featuring Avey Tare in the title, I wouldn't have known. I would have just guessed it was some random male vocalist.
Nice. I think I feel like I'm accustomed to trying to like modify my voice. I feel like I've had to do it with Noah a lot, where we're just kind of like and Josh too. Like over time, it's just I've sung a lot more over the years. I feel like with Noah, and just a matter of kind of like changing our voices around a little bit to like get them to sound kind of similar. So I feel like with other singers too, it's just sometimes it's a matter of like changing the voice around to just accommodate the sound of their voice and the song. I feel like my voice at this point, yeah, it's pretty recognizable, and just I have a thing that I feel like is Avey Tare, and I feel like that's a very strong personality for me, and I feel like sometimes that personality isn't needed in in other stuff, or you know what I mean. It's just like I'm just doing something else. So um, I feel like it was also just I found like the vocal part Zoie wrote is very interesting and very unique, and it took me a little bit to like figure it out and like wrap my head around it, just because of the time signature and her delivery, which is super cool. But so yeah, I was a little like just trying to like rein it in and stay in her world, too. So yeah, it's just all that a little. Then I feel like towards the end, I got to let it out a little
Yeah.
bit more with the Predator and like have the Avey Tare come in a little bit more there at the end.
Yeah.
Well, you can get payback on her by being like, okay, I got a new track and it's got fast paced hocketing and you got to keep up.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've actually tried writing some hocketing stuff for Jordan and I's band, and it is not easy. I can tell you that. So hats off
No,
to that
yeah, the
experiment gone right. Like the painting
practicing
with.
practicing for painting with tour was one of the hardest things musically like I've ever done or felt like I accomplished, like being able to play those songs and sing that stuff, some of them at the same time, and have it all work together. It was tough.
But it sounds
But
awesome.
got there. Thank you.
Sweet. That and yeah, and Predator is such a
Predator.
fantastic song. It is stuck in my head every single day. I'm
Oh,
like
that's
always
crazy.
constantly singing it. Um,
It's stuck in my
okay.
head right now.
Yeah, honestly, I know. I can't even think of what I was about to say. Oh, right. Costume jewelry. So, yeah, this song is great, great melody. You did t touch on it a little bit at the beginning that it
Right.
was kind
Yeah.
of something that you were kind of just noodling around with, and then it kind of came to fruition.
Hmm.
Lyrically, I think it's a very interesting song too, because you were mentioning that sometimes your lyrics can range between being, I guess maybe more overtly meaningful in a larger accessible way to being more abstract. With this song, I feel like it kind of has a bit of both. You're naming people, you're
Hmm.
mentioning a line about self-abusing. Um,
Hmm.
how personal is this song to you in terms of like lyrical content?
I mean, I think all my songs are fairly personal. Maybe not all of them, but I'd say the bulk of them, 80%, always have themes that relate to my life, or relate to something happening around my life, or I guess in my head. But yeah, there's definitely personal things going on in there. Other times with the people I'll name, it'll be people that are close to me, but I'll take them out of context and put them in like a totally different situation than they actually are in reality. You know what I mean? For
Mhm.
their protection and and I don't know, I don't just because certain names or certain people will just come into mind when I'm making a song or if that fits the emotion. And yeah, it might not have anything to do with the with what I'm singing about. They might not actually do that in real life, but they somehow make it, I'm fond of them, or they just somehow make it in there some way. But yeah, there's definitely like there's a lot of truth in there. And then I'm always just trying to like set a scene. I feel like I wanted that song to feel very conversational. Something I've been music wise been thinking about a lot lately since sevens, and just like styles of song that feel like well, it's kind of like a story, but more, yeah, just somebody sort of relaying information, or like you're having a conversation with somebody. And that um I remember, yeah, like I said before, we just did that we recorded that song a couple late nights, and yeah, I just wanted it to feel very intimate and kind of confessional and dark. It was like a late night dark confessional kind of song. So yeah, and it's like very junky and kind of broken, like the orchestration. I wanted to sound kind of broken, and um, it kind of emotionally has a feeling of like a bit of a broken emotional kind of vibe, maybe tired. I don't know. Um, I was probably pretty tired. I think I recorded it actually right like shortly after getting back from a tour. So I probably was. And Adam and I just wanted to hang out, and I was tired too. So it all just, yeah, fit the mood, you know. That's just, and I think a lot some of the lyrics were kind of spontaneous, and yeah, other lyrics I would have to go back to and write down, or just to get it all to make sense and have it be the way I wanted.
Fantastic. It's such a great song. It's kind of funny about that song. Greg and I both had a similar sort of, I guess, listening experience. Was when the song ends, when you're listening to it on the cassette, you can faintly hear Zoe's side playing like in reverse.
Oh, right. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, for
Yeah, and
sure.
it sounds amazing. It's like
Let's
really good.
go.
Like I
Adam.
thought it was I thought it was part of the song. I was like, wow, this is a really interesting way to have this song fade out. And then I clued in. I was like, oh, that's what's happening. But yeah,
Crazy.
it's pretty cool. Gave me kind of sort of pull hair rub eye vibes, reverse.
Yeah. So
This EP, your EP, Zoe, works in reverse as well. I don't know if you know, but you
Oh
could
my
release it in reverse and it works. So
God. That's
That's
crazy.
actually, Dave, that's how you're planning to release the digital version of your site, right? It's
yeah,
just in
there you go.
reverse. So that's the caveat.
Yeah,
Domino's
can you
like,
get
that's
away from
fine.
dominant? Yeah, if it's
that's how I
reverse.
that's how I get over the contractual obligations. I just reverse everything.
Awesome. Well, both sides of this split EP are so fantastic, and it's awesome. It's such a great little surprise for the Animal Collective fans, and I think it's a really cool way to learn more about Superflower. I'm really hoping that this is a good way to shed some light on your music, Zoe, because you've got obviously a lot of amazing tunes already. Is there plans to work on anything else, like collaboratively?
Um, Collaboratively, nothing like in writing, but I'm hoping
Yeah,
that
nothing.
we hang out at jam. Like I hope to, we did like a jam recently at a birthday party. That was really fun. That was
Yeah,
awesome, actually. So moments like that I'm hoping for, and we'll see. Yeah.
yeah. Like I said earlier, or kind of like mentioned, we have a friend group that kind of just likes hanging out and bringing instruments and playing a lot, and so yeah, there's a lot of that happening, and I think some of that will grow into other projects probably, or hopefully. You never know.
Is
Yeah.
that like, oh, sorry.
I said I just got a harmonium for Mikey, who did strings. So uh we'll bring that over, Dave. We'll
Yeah.
see what
Dave can bring
happens.
his.
Yeah, show you.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say in terms of like this group of friends that you guys jam with, does that have something to do with? I saw there was on your Instagram post, maybe was it yesterday? There was a post from Sham that had you tagged in it,
Oh
and it was
yeah,
like
yeah. I've been getting together with those guys and jamming, like I'm having some weekend
nice.
improvisations, and
Yeah,
yeah.
is that just for fun or is that like a project that's
Right now, um, it's kind of just like a yeah, locals only kind of vibe.
right on?
They're gonna get
Speaking
the
of
matching jackets.
Speaking of Instagram,
Yeah.
I've noticed on your Instagram, Dave, you've been posting a lot of these like I think you had them in a reel called portals, and
Uh-huh.
they'll be like little clips of nature sort of visuals and kind of drony vocal
Uh-huh.
snippets. Is that alluding to something in the future that you might be putting out or?
Not really, no. I just I wanted to I like to keep into like social media and Instagram like as creative as possible. Sometimes I get bogged down with like the kind of commercialized aspect of social media now. I'm very bogged down by it. I don't like it at all. Um, so I think it's just an attempt for me to make yeah, something like Instagram, which is the only social media I use pretty much. As creative as it can possibly be. Like I still have to use it to advertise shows and that sort of thing. But I feel like if I'm balancing it, which is creative too, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Sometimes I just get weighted by the capitalist nature of everything, you know what I mean? And so it's nice to be able to just free yourself creatively. And I think it's important too, in terms of artists, that you have outlets that aren't tied to anything like that. And so that's one reason for doing it. And I think it's also just a practice in spontaneity for me, and being able to do little art pieces or little songs and not think about it so much, like in the way I like improvisation. I don't really always have somebody around that I can improvise with, but I could just come up with a vocal melody off the top of my head. And if I'm around something inspiring, video it and sing at the same time. And then it's done, and then that's just something that happens and I make and I can put it out into the world. And so that's just sort of what I'm trying to do there.
They're
Awesome.
sick.
They're really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of almost hoping that there would be like an album of just that. I was like, I'd be into it.
Well, that's why I have the collection of them. You could just. go
Yeah.
into it. And I don't. Maybe they work all together. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'll get to a point where it'll progress into something like that. It's just right now. It's just something I'm just kind of want to do for the freedom of it. Really, I guess.
I think we as fans have just been trained by Noah. Like whenever we see a short clip on his Twitter or his Instagram story, we're like, okay, he's teasing something that's going to come out soon. So
I don't even know what
Yeah.
that stuff he's been teasing lately is. I don't think. I think that might just be him having a good time, but I could be wrong.
well, we're speculating a lot about Sinister Grift, the album that him and Josh worked on late last year over in Portugal. So we're just always speculating and guessing and formulating. And like when we were waiting for Time Skiffs and Isn't It Now to come out, we had endless hours of discussions in various fan forums of being like, this should be the track list. This is going to be the single. No, this is going to be the track list. And then like, I think Isn't It Now, nobody came close to getting it right. So point is, you guys are always going to keep surprising us and keep us on our toes. And we appreciate it.
Yeah, we like the surprises.
Speaking of which, your Animal Collective camp, the post. There's many surprises this year. We've already got the Merriweather 15-year anniversary, the Sung Tongs 20-year anniversary, the live album. Are there any more surprises in store for Animal Collective fans this year?
Wouldn't
Um,
be a surprise if you told me.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's
Not,
true.
I don't know. Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with anything, but there probably is, honestly, or there. I think we have a couple more things coming.
Awesome.
But maybe everything else that's coming is more solo project oriented and not Animal Collective anymore. I'm not sure.
Nice. That's very cool.
There,
I
yeah,
would.
there's some stuff. There's some stuff. There's some
All right. All right.
stuff.
We and for you, Zoe, you cooking anything up in the kitchen right now? Future releases?
Well, my goal is to record an album this summer. Um, I better do it. But right now it's a lot of bits and pieces. I do a lot of recording voice memos and I come up with little melodies, or recording guitars and come up with little guitar melodies. And then um I have a I'm probably going to record with Adam again. I'm probably going to record some music with my friend Stone, who's coming to visit soon, and just recording with friends and seeing what I can do. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing all of it. And Dave, the on the tour that you did with Woods, you did play some songs I don't think we've heard before that. Maybe one on a tour last year, or
hmm
is that something that's going to be coming out studio release?
I haven't recorded anything, but I'm definitely working towards now. I'm like having sort of amassing a bunch of songs. So there would
Nice.
definitely be some recording for me, more recording for me, sometime soon. But I haven't recorded anything yet. Yeah, I'm sort of wanted a break. Kind of wanted to find a place of having a clean slate, kind of after all this Animal Collective stuff and my touring for sevens. I kind of wanted to just find myself in a fresh spot where the new stuff could just come. So I'm sort of taking it slow because I really want it to be a departure, feel like something different. But the songs are coming faster than I imagined, so it might be
Nice.
quicker than I thought.
And is there a chance we're going to get any like mixed recordings of live performances like solo or like the Time Skiffs, Isn't It Now era?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. We're always like hoping to put stuff like that out along the way. So I'm sure there'll be stuff like that coming too.
Sweet.
Wait.
Well, it's always cool when you guys find a cause to sort of raise money for by doing that. Like when you guys put out the Painting Wit stuff back in, I think it was 2017, when y'all put like 3 of those up on Bandcamp. So
hmm
that was like a really great timely thing, and I guess we should at least mention quickly before this is over that this EP, the proceeds of it, were going to Lamplight AVL, which is a local nonprofit supporting. I'm reading off the Bandcamp: innovative artists through residency opportunities, creating spaces for art to be shared broadly within the community. Is real quick before we go, is there like, how did that come into it? Like, would you just know, were you part of this? Would you know the people that run it? And then
That's also run kind of adjacent to Drop of Sun. The space, the lamplight space, is actually like a part of the Drop of Sun building, or it's in the same, a part of the same building. They're not really sort of the same. They're loosely kind of associated, I guess. So it was really Adam's idea, since it's kind of the label is kind of Adam's baby. You know what I mean? It was kind of an easy way to, and I think Lamplight is the space that's sort of, yeah, supporting all these different Asheville artists, and like it's kind of like month to month, just like having all this really cool stuff. It's really super cool for Asheville, you know, that the space exists now, and they're just really supporting all these different cool Asheville artists. So yeah, it seemed kind of like a no-brainer for this release to have it go back into the Lamplight.
Right, especially with how like you said, how the industry is changing so much in the last few years. It's nice to have a little community together to sort of stick through all that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what's feeling really good about Asheville, and like the music community that we have right now, and something like Lamplight. I feel like it's all tying together to like keep the community creative, and together, and everybody's sort of somehow supporting each other, you know, and which is a positive, balanced way for things to work. So I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's feeling good in that sense right now.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. Well,
All right.
cool. Thank you guys so much for taking the time and talking to us. It's great to get some insight onto this sneaky EP that came out, you know.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of like Animal Collective fans are gonna be psyched to hear this insight. And you know, I think also based on, I don't know if you, Zoe, do you go on the Animal Collective like fan forums at all?
Yeah.
You do?
Mhm.
So you know people are saying good things about your side as well. So
Yeah, people have been really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the
Fantastic.
copies of the cassettes are still available on the Dosed Bandcamp page. I don't know how many, but as of the recording of this, so if you haven't gotten your copy yet, go on there and buy it. Pay them a little extra, just because, you know, we could all use a little extra cash now and then. And yeah,
I'll
I
have
guess
some on my tour, a tour that's coming up too. There's playing 4 shows. One is with Superflower.
Yeah, I love
So if you're hearing, I don't know when this is gonna run, when you're gonna put this out, but I don't know. People hear this before the show come out to the Louisville show with Superflower and Avey Tare.
yeah, are there any specific dates you guys want to plug?
that. May 31st.
Yeah, that's May 31st at
Yeah.
the Zanzibar in Louisville. And then I'm playing a couple dates in Chicago on the 1st and the 2nd. And then back to Asheville on the 7th.
Sweet. Well, this will definitely be out by then. So if you live in those places, go check them out. Go support live music, support indie artists, support everything they do, because they're amazing. Guys, thank you so much. I hope we didn't take too much of your time.
No,
Really appreciate it.
great to be here.
Awesome. All right, take care, guys.
Oh, take
Thanks.
care. Thank
Okay,
you so
see ya.
much.
Put 'em on up, the wet they're not able. Put 'em on up, the wet they're not able. Put 'em on up, the wet they're not able. Put 'em on up, the wet they're not able. Sun'll come out.